I'm Shae Russell from mining.com.au, and joining me today is Tom Revy, the CEO of Hawsons Iron. Tom, it is great to see you again. How are you?
I'm really good, Shae. And yourself?
Really good. Thanks for coming back on. We've got a bit of a meaty update to get into about Hawsons Iron today. But it's been a few weeks since we've spoken, and you do have an unusual magnetite iron ore project. Could you refresh everybody what your project is?
Well, the project itself is located about 70 kilometres from Broken Hill, obviously a well-tried and proven mining district in New South Wales. From our point of view, the project itself is a unique project. And I know a lot of people say unique project and throw that line away. But the reality is the material that we have gives us that uniqueness, for want of a better phrase. It's a material that is unlike any other in terms of magnetites and magnetite producers around the world. It is far softer. And certainly over the last little while, the last few months, what we've done is we've got into the nitty gritty to understand why that is the case. But the bottom line is our material is softer. In fact, it's like a third of many of our peers who are looking to produce or are currently producing. So it is unique from that point of view. And of course, it's unique in terms of its proximity to infrastructure, which of course is a big deal when you're talking about bulk commodities.
I'm glad you mentioned the softness of the rocks there, because that is quite unusual when it comes to iron ore projects, and it certainly helps you stand out amongst your peers in this industry. But part of today's update is about the unique process that you can apply to this ore body. Can you elaborate on what that is?
Absolutely. What we've been doing, we've been running two parallel studies over the last probably 4 months, 5 months. And in that, we've been looking at the resource itself in its entirety. We've been looking at how it varies, and as the release today explains, we've been looking at the mineralogical variation. How much does the material vary along strikes, so along the one plane, and also down dip or at depth? And what we've been able to do is ascertain that there's really only three key different domains in there, three slightly different mineralogical zones in there. And that takes us to the next stage, which is understanding how they work different if they do metallurgically. And then that provides us with the final input into the process design. Now, the other study we've been doing is on the process design, and we flagged that earlier last year. We kicked off a study around September last year where we reported back subsequent to that the initial outlook for us looking at a dry comminution, crushing and grinding circuit, was extremely favourable. And since then, we've done a mountain of work. And again, for detail, it's within the ASX release. But the bottom line is because of that uniqueness of material, we've been able to take a process which is novel to magnetite, but not novel in the mining industry. It's used in the phosphate industry, it's used in the cement industry. Obviously, in the cement industry, you've got to keep your material dry, etc. So there's some property sort of correlation between some of this material. And from our point of view, we've been able to take that technology, that knowledge, and put it into practice by testing our material. And certainly the results we've received so far have been extraordinarily exciting.
Before we wrap up today and look at the year ahead, I just wouldn't mind pressing on this because this is a really compelling point for Hawsons Iron. And that is essentially what you're telling us by looking at this process is that this reduces your energy costs, it will reduce your capex and eventually be more profitable down the line for investors. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Certainly from our point of view, the energy required to put into taking the material down in size is not only heavily reduced because of the softness of the material, but it's more direct as well. So applying sort of pressure rather than rolling in terms of ball mills, etc., is more energy efficient because the transfer's there. It also means that we can get the material down using fewer steps, again, so it makes a smaller footprint. So less energy, smaller footprint, obviously with no water in the process route, which we're looking at doing at the moment. That cuts significant capex and opex, and obviously has a completely different implication in terms of a tailings dam because you're not dealing with leaving a wet glugging mess at the end of the day. And environmental permits and licensing and schedules overall should be shorter as a direct result of this as well.
And finally, obviously, this is a super exciting development for the company, but what does the rest of 2025 look like?
Well, we're pretty well following the development pathway, which we mapped out at the AGM presentation. To that extent, we're completing the variability and early stage dry combination test work, as we said, by the end of the first quarter. And we'll be releasing something early in the second quarter along that to explain the full commercial implications of it. And then in parallel with that, we'll start looking at taking bulk samples from the material and actually convert that test work we have, which has given us the confidence today, to another level. And we'll be working with vendors so that we can get the metallurgical input and get the process warranties and use that to slot into our current feasibility program. So by the end of the year, we should be finalising the process route and basically continue the feasibility study full steam ahead, which in its own right, as per the development plan, should be completed by the end of next year.
Thank you so much for this today, Tom. I look forward to future updates.
Thanks very much, Shae.